Good afternoon everybody. This week is going to be feeling a little bit nostalgic. We're back at my house on the driveway, working on my E90 again. This is something we haven't done for a long time. And as we're bringing the E90 back, as well as the driveway, I think it's only fair that we start doing some performance upgrades to my car. But before we get into that, I think it's fair that I give you a quick recap and get you brought up to date, because it's been a while since we worked on the car, and we also started working on it about 8 months ago. To get you caught up to date then, I first need to take you guys all the way back to the 7th of July last year when I posted the first video on my 3 Series. I first gave the engine a full service, including changing the oil and both of the filters. And then after that, the modifications began. We first changed the indicators, and then the mirror caps, and then the grills. And then I felt like the interior was quite outdated, so we changed a lot in there, like floor mats, interior lighting, puddle lights. I put in an Apple CarPlay screen. I also did things like fixing the cup holders and then the door handles on the door cards. And now the interior is feeling really fresh and quite a lot more up to date. Next, I picked up some nice Raceland coilovers to change the whole suspension on my car, as the stock ones were dead and not really doing anything anymore. Then one afternoon I found out that one of my front speakers had blown, so I changed them to some nice Alpine speakers. I was then sent a free turbo to replace the old one, which I believed had an issue, which I later found out didn't, because the issue were wheel bearings. So I changed the front ones myself and had the rear ones done by a garage. And in the most recent video, we put a PSM style lip spoiler on the boot, as well as a new rear diffuser with an F1 rain light. So there you have it, 6 months of content condensed into about 1 minute of this video. I think that's pretty impressive that I just managed to do that. But before we get on to the performance upgrades to the engine, or the one upgrade we're doing at the moment, I just want to quickly tell you that I've taken the wind deflectors off. I was complaining about them in a previous video on the car, and I decided to just get rid of them. And honestly, I think it looks so much better now without it as well. I think I'm out of my wind deflector era and I've actually grown up, because yeah, they're practical, but they're also a little bit annoying and look horrendous. But enough waffling for now, because this week we're gonna be putting a performance air filter on my 320D. I told you this week's gonna be feeling nostalgic. We've done a Ramair filter to my other cars that we've done in the past, and now we're going to be doing it to this car. It's a pretty nostalgic video, this is. So if you haven't seen already, on my Corsa and my 1 Series, we put a Ramair filter on the engine. Before going and picking up this Ramair intake kit, I was actually going to get a Direnza intake kit. I'll leave it on screen right here, but I think they've discontinued that product, which is annoying because it looks so good. I would have gone so nicely just here in the engine bay. But as I've used Ramair before for obviously my previous 2 builds, I know that they are going to give me a very nice induction noise. So before we do any work, I think it's time we start the engine up and give you a little before sound, and then we'll get on to it. So let's do that first. Okay, so this is a start up and a few revs with the stock intake. That's pretty boring and standard, so let's change it. Right then, the first thing we're going to want to do is obviously remove the airbox, but I think the first thing is the mass sensor, which is just here. We want to just disconnect that one and get that out of the way with. Now we're going to want to remove the box that obviously sits around the old air filter, so let's remove these clips. There we go, with the clips removed, we should be able to pop just the top bit off like so. And then what we need to remove is 2 Torx bolts which sit just around the hose bit here, which had the mass sensor on, to remove this top panel away from the intake pipe. These 2 bolts were T30s, a little bit difficult to access but weren't that hard to get out in the end. So those 2 bolts were T30, remove both, and that is the top piece of our airbox removed. We might as well take out the old air filter, which by the way has only been in the car for about 5,000 miles. That's pretty filthy. What we need to do next is remove this bottom panel of the air intake. So if we just pop off this pipe here, that pipe's not going to pop off just yet actually, we're going to do that in a minute. First we're going to remove the 2 bolts which hold the bottom of this down. These 2 bolts required a 10mm socket, and once again they just came out nice and easy. However, I did have to remove that front panel just so I could get the feed pipe out the way. So that is the bottom of the airbox removed. I have no clue whatsoever with what this is, but that's it out. We've now got quite a bit of space to work with. I also had to remove this front panel here. Now let me show you guys something pretty funny. If I step inside my car, yeah, you're seeing that right. I can stand on my front subframe in my car between the radiator and the engine. What the hell? There's so much room in here. We need a 6-cylinder next. So now with that removed, we should be left with 2 T30 bolts, which obviously are holding on the MAF sensor bit to the box. These 2 bolts, which are holding the bottom of the box down. These 3 T15s, which are just holding on this front cover here. The bottom of the airbox and the top of the airbox with the air filter, as well as this front cover. So now finally, probably the bit you've been waiting for. This is the brand new air filter. Pretty small actually, in matter of fact, but it looks cool. All right, so to start the fitment process, we're going to take the air filter with this hose clamp, and we're going to put it over here and then start tightening up the hose clamp. We need to keep this thread here separate so that we can bolt that onto the bracket to hold this steady, basically. So as I started fitting the air filter, I realised that I needed to fit the bracket first, which is what I did next. So this bracket right here is what's going to stabilise our air filter, and there's a ground just underneath it, which when we undo, we'll be able to put it back through this because this is metal. And then we'll be able to connect the hose clamp through this bolt here, and then we will have an air filter which is stabilised and in place. The air filter was quite a tight fit, but once I got it over, tightened the hose clamp up and connected it up to the bracket, and it held it in the perfect position. So we finished fitting the air filter now. It was actually a little more difficult than I thought because the hose clamp just wouldn't go over, but we got it there in the end. Let's start it up and give it a few revs now with obviously the new performance filter installed. Oh my word, is that different? What? Sorry? Okay, so we've now established that that sounds insane. We get so much turbo whistle now. Are you kidding me? That is so different to before. I cannot wait to drive this, but it is night time, so I probably won't be able to drive it tonight. So instead, what we're going to do is just put this back together, and I'll show you guys what it's like on the road tomorrow. But first, like I said, let's just get this back together for now and wrap up tonight. So to finish up that night, I just put the engine cover back on, the front plastic cover, and then a little makeshift pipe to feed some cold air to the new air filter. Okay, so we are back together. Not only that, but I've also put this little air feed pipe in so you can just get some cold air to the air filter. But that looks awesome. I'm really, really happy with that. So there it is then, that is the Ramair cone filter installed on my 320D. That looks amazing and also sounds amazing because obviously I fit this, it was 2 days ago now I fit this, so I've been driving around in it for the past 2 days, and it is just, oh, it is one of the coolest things I've ever heard. Then when we did it to the Corsa and to the 1 Series, it didn't really add too much noise, but this, it's like, it's just so whoosh, whoosh, I can't explain it. I'll have to take you guys on a drive at the end of the video, because before we do on a drive, I'll have one more filter that I need to change on the car because I didn't do it when I serviced the car, and I'm going to do it quickly now instead. So this filter right here is the pollen filter for my car. The reason why I want to change it is because it just smells a little bit strange when I've got the fans on inside. I think maybe because we've got a very old pollen filter that could be filled with dirt and rubbish and stuff like that. So we've got to take off that top panel there, and then it should just be under that, swap it over to the new one and put it back on. So this top panel should be held on by 6 bolts. I only had 5 because I had 1 missing. So with all bolts removed, there should be 6. I've only got 5 because I'm missing this one right here. We can now lift out the box that the panel filter sits in, and there it is, just underneath. It looks pretty filthy. So this is the state of the old panel filter. Look at all the grime and rubbish, leaves, cobwebs, dirt, everything inside of here. It looks horrible. So like I said, we're going to change this over to the brand new one and then install it straight back in the car. To remove the old filter, I just had to undo the clips and then lift it out. There, look at that. Horrible, black, dirty. It's probably what's causing the horrible smell in the car. So this panel filter I got from Euro Car Parts is just a Bosch one, and it should just slide in and replace the one that we just took out like for like. And then to put it back in, I had to make sure it was the right way around and then push it back through the clips. And there we go, that's the new filter in, so let's just put that back on the car and bolt it back in. And to put it back in, I made sure the vents just slotted into place and then put the 5 bolts back on. There we have it then, brand new panel filter installed. So let's go take it on a test drive and I'll show you how this sounds, because it is phenomenal. At least I hope my mic will be able to pick it up. So we switched over to the car. Let's go on a drive. I'm really hoping that my microphone picks this up. I'm pretty sure it won't, but if it does, just feast your ears on this eargasmic sound. I'm waffling. Let's drive. Ooh. Ready, ready, ready? Ooh. Right, let's go. And before you hate me in the comments saying that my engine's cold and I shouldn't be revving it, I've just driven home from work. My engine's warm. Right, you ready? Are you ready? Oh, I hope it picks that up. It's even better in third, ready? There's so much whistle to it, and when I'm stationary as well, sometimes it's ever so faintly a turbo flutter. Now, with absolutely zero tune, it's quite crazy that it sounds this good. Oh, man, I love it. I absolutely love it. I would say that's £63 pretty much well spent. I love it. Now, I do not want the performance modifications to stop there. Like, we can take this much further. So what should we do to the car? Like, obviously we can get a map if we want, we can get it tuned. I have got someone that I know that knows someone basically that can get my car tuned for me. We could go on to TDI tuning and get pre-made maps for the car, but I think possibly a custom tune will be better than pre-made maps, because, well, it'll fit what I've got on the car better than just a generic one that covers a lot of engines, basically. Like I say, we could take this further. We could go get maybe a different intercooler, better intercooler pipes, and all sorts of things like that. Maybe hybrid turbo it down the line when I get more money to do so. EGR, swell flap, DPF delete, like things like that. We could really push this car from about 170 odd brake to maybe 250, possibly even more. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to know what you guys think. Should we continue doing performance modifications to my car? Should we make it even more powerful? We had the timing chain done about 5,000 miles ago, so hopefully that's something that we shouldn't have to worry about far too much. But one thing that I do need to worry about at the moment is the tracking. It is really bad, really bad. Now, I had it done, I want to say 3-4 months ago. Actually no, it's probably about 3-4 months ago. Yeah, it was actually. And the people who did it, it was no fault of their own. It's just the wheels that I've got on the car are squared off, and I bought them like it. I've curbed them a little bit extra myself by accident, which obviously doesn't help. But because they are curbed and squared, when they put the stuff on the car to set the wheels so that they're pointing straight, they can't put it on properly because, well, I got square wheels. So the next video on this car, we are going to be getting the wheels refurbished, and I'm really looking forward to that because it's just gonna hopefully make the car look better again. It's just gonna, I don't know, it's just gonna pop a little bit on the side. And then having genuinely round wheels is gonna mean that we can go get a wheel alignment, and then we won't have any issues with that anymore. So that is one thing I am looking forward to. But I want to hear it from you guys. So look, I'm on the motorway right now, my hands aren't even on the steering wheel when we pull back to the left. Like, it's really bad. But yeah, what colour do you guys think we should go with the wheels? I've already thinking of a colour in my head, possibly silver. I don't want black because I don't want to stealth this car out like we did with the 1 Series. I want something that's going to stand out, maybe like bronze, but yeah, silver is the colour in my head at the moment. But Friday this week, which is tomorrow for me, I've got a surgery, so I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be doing a video next week. I might do like a full build sort of one again on one of my cars that I've done previously. But I've got a surgery, so I don't know how I'm going to be feeling next week. But thank you guys to stick around if you're still here, like through all my waffle, because I know I've just been chatting out my arse. Thank you guys for being here. I will see you guys next week, Sunday, depends, but definitely the week after we will be back. So thank you guys ever so much for watching. If you go down there and hit that subscribe button and the like button, I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time. Have a fantastic week. Peace out.